Ready for some page turning highlights? Let's dive into my August TBR wrap up. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Trishita Reads. I am Trishita and in today's video, I am super excited to share with you the book I have read in the month of August. I have read a mixed set of books and I cannot wait to talk about them with you guys. So grab a cup of tea, get cozy and let's dive into the video. Even though there were 10 books in my TBR, I unfortunately did not get the time to read 2 books from that list, but I ended up reading 12 books that I feel is amazing. At first, I will be talking about the books that I did not like that much and then I will shift to the books that I liked. So let's get into it. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Even in Death by Lilith Roman. I did not like reading this book and ended up giving 1.5 stars. In this book, the main character returns to her childhood home after her parents' demise, where she is haunted by a shadowy secret that reveals unsettling truths and threatens to consume her whole. This is what I was told in the blurb of this book, but when I ended up reading this book, the blurb was really very misleading. Don't get me wrong, the plot was interesting, the premise was promising, but it was not something super unique or original. Writing was something that made this book a really bad experience for me. This book was a novella. It was around 150 something pages, but that was also becoming really difficult for me to read. The writing felt scattered, awkward at times, and overtly descriptive. I mean, I don't want to read the description of a kitchen for straight 2 pages, right? Plus, the description of useless things was done multiple times in this book rather than giving the characters of this book that much of an importance. I simply could not connect with any of the characters. All of them lacked depth. I understand that since this was a novella, the author had very few time or pages to make the readers connect with the characters, but I also wanted some backstory. I also wanted to know who the characters were. The main female character was trying to convince the readers that she is a person who is super rich, has everything that she wants in her life, but still she does not care about any of the materialistic things in life and she only cares about human bonds and stuff like that. This was repeated multiple times in the book and the relationship between the main female character and her parents was not described that much at all. At some point I felt like there were more plot fillers, more plot developers, but the character development was actually not there. The most misleading thing about this book is labeled as paranormal romance, but I did not see any form of romance in this novel. It was so disturbing to read the intimate moments between these 2 characters because, spoiler alert, it was not done with consent. So you understand what I am talking about. And I feel like this should not be normalized even in books. I was really, really disturbed after reading all of those scenes and it was going on and on and on. There was no romance or development of any romance between these 2 characters. And at the end of the story, something happened, truths came out, and the author tried to justify why it was done or why the first half of the book actually happened. But I don't feel like it was justifiable. Personally, ending or how the ending was explained and what happened in the ending does not justify anything done without consent. One thing I really, really appreciate is this was a novella. I cannot even imagine reading more than 150 pages of this atrocity. I really wanted to like this book, but unfortunately I couldn't, and I'm really sorry for that. At the end of the day, I am also in a dilemma whether I should read anything written by Lilith Roman in future or should I just skip her work. I feel like this book was definitely not my cup of tea, and I'm sad, but it is what it is. The next book that I read and felt like the plot and premise was promising, but it didn't land well for me was Dog Island by Philip Claudel. My final rating of this book is 2 out of 5. This book revolves around an island that is one of the few undiscovered islands in the Dog Islands chain, and people residing in Dog Island are very protective about their land and island and the secrets within. On a normal day, 3 dead bodies of 3 random people that nobody in the island knows about is washed off in the shore of Dog Island. From then starts a series of events where the people of the island are trying to hide this incident, and on the other side, an investigation officer comes to check what actually happened. The plot really seemed very, very promising. But when I started reading this book, I actually felt the book to be very boring. It didn't excite me or engage me, and by the end of this book, I was completely uninterested in the story. The plot actually became very confusing at some times because in this book, there is one unique feature that the characters don't have any name. For example, we have the old lady. the teacher, the mayor, the doctor, the priest, and a few other people. And that made the plot a little bit confusing, not gonna lie. That also made me not connect with the characters as well. This book is a murder mystery, but I have so many questions about the plot or the story of this book. For example, why the murder happened, how the murder happened, what was the motive of the murder happening in this book, and it was not clear. I should not say this because I am nowhere equipped to write a novel, but I also feel like there should be a motive to a story. I did not see any resolution or direction in this story, and that made me go bonkers while reading this book. Also, I have to mention this one thing. The author tried to be philosophical at the end of the story. That did not land at all because I wanted to know the answers. I wanted to know why, where, and when the things happened that happened. Not gonna lie, I was rather very furious after finishing this book. I felt like my time was wasted. I'm happy and I am proud that I finished this book. Will I recommend this to anyone? No, there are better, way better thrillers out there. I have a few thrillers to talk about that I absolutely love. So you can watch my video and take a recommendation from that. Do not read this. The next book is also a thriller, and this book also did not land for me. And the book that I am going to talk about is The American Boyfriend. I ended up giving this book 2.5 stars. Phoebe is a single mother, and when her boyfriend gives her an opportunity to spend some time with him in Florida for a week, then she cannot resist. She jumps up in the plane and she goes and lands in the house where they have decided to go for the staycation or vacation for the week, but the boyfriend doesn't arrive at time. And on the very first day, she gets robbed. So Phoebe neither has money nor has any communication with her boyfriend, and she gets to see that as days pass, she gets dragged in a conspiracy that has murder and past secrets and darkness involved, which she does not want to be a part of, but she becomes a part of. This book is very short, and I was expecting things to be happening super fast, but to my surprise, everything was so slow, and only the last 50 pages were something that I liked in this book. There were multiple characters in this book, which, yes, was confusing a little bit, but what I did not like was some of these characters were actually not important in the story and they were just there. Switching of POVs was happening in the beginning of the book, and yes, that was making me a little bit confused, but I feel like I don't have any complaints in that. One thing I have to mention is I did like the way the ending of this book was written. After, chapter 16 or chapter 18, the story finally picks up pace and, things started happening simultaneously with all of the twists and turns. And the thing that I was expecting from the book from the very beginning was actually happening at the end. It is my personal opinion, but I felt like the ending was too convenient. Everything wrapped up in a way that was super convenient for both of the characters, and I did feel that it was little bit unrealistic, but I don't feel like that was a big issue. This was a mediocre read for me. Will I recommend this book? Maybe. If you want to read a book that is slow in the beginning and is rushed at the end, then definitely go for this. But the next book that I read was a book by Frida McFadden, and the book's name is Ward D. My rating is 3 stars. Amy Brenner is a medical student and she is doing internships at different wards in a hospital, and one day she gets assigned to work in a night shift in Ward D. Ward D is a psychiatric ward, and there are several rumors regarding Ward D. Due to some circumstances that happened during the night, Amy gets trapped in that ward, and Amy faces her deepest fears as slowly but suddenly patients and doctors start disappearing, revealing a chilling danger lurking in the walls of Ward D. One thing that I absolutely love when it comes to Frida McFadden's books is how fast-paced the books are, and this book was not an exception. There were two timelines in this book. One was the past of the main character and one was the present of the main character, and it added depth to the character as well. I got to know more about the character's past, how she was in the past, and what is actually happening in the present, and at the end of the story, obviously, these two timelines interconnect and the beautiful ending of the book is revealed. However, I did feel like the main character as a medical student was a little bit unrealistic. In the past, the main character has gone through some things, and I feel like it was not something that was so easy to keep a secret about, but it was conveniently done in the story, and she became a medical student, which felt rather unrealistic. And I also felt like there was misrepresentation of mental health issues in this book. This book definitely definitely gave me a good experience, as all Frida McFadden's books do. But I also feel like this was not the best work I have read by Frida McFadden. If you want to read a fun and quick book, then definitely you can check this book out. So if you are a Frida McFadden fan, or if you want to read good books by Frida McFadden, then definitely you can check The Teacher and the Housemaid series. The next book that I read was a new release, and it is by an Indian author, and the book's name is Naga Warriors by Akshat Gupta. The book is currently not with me, it is with my father. He is reading this book currently, so I am attaching a picture here. I got this book as a review copy kindly from Penguin India, and I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars. This book revolves around the Battle of Gokul, where 111 Naga warriors stand against a huge army of the Afghans. They stand to defend their sacred temples and uphold their vow of courage and devotion to Lord Shiva. This book is, I guess, a part of a trilogy, and the main story of this book revolves only around Battle of Gokul. So I felt like this was more of a historical fiction, and I am also excited to see how the author interconnects the past with the present and hopefully the future in the upcoming books of the series. One thing that I absolutely loved was the plot of the book. The blend of Shiva, the Naga warriors, and their devotion to protect Dharma completely hooks you from the very beginning. This book definitely describes this epic battle really beautifully, where not only the setting, the characters, as well as the execution of all the action packed plot was done really beautifully. However, one thing I must tell is I feel like Akshat Gupta's writing is good. It's really good, but it is not exceptional. He writes very short books, and I feel like I end up wanting more after finishing his books. This book is beginner friendly, definitely. Anybody who wants to start reading can pick any book by Akshat Gupta and completely fall in love with the story and the writing style. But since I have read a lot of books, I feel like Akshat Gupta should explore more in terms of writing. Somehow I feel like he plays little bit safe, and that is the reason why I have reduced my rating. Otherwise, there is nothing for me to dislike in this novel. Overall, if you are a person who wants to read a thriller that has elements of Hindu mythology in it, then definitely give this book a try. You will definitely love this book. The next book I read was a boyfriend recommendation, and the book's name is The Perfect Marriage. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars. Sarah Morgan is a very famous defense attorney, one of the best in the city, and hence she has a lot of workload. She is super busy, and hence she cannot give that much time to her family. Her husband, on the other hand, is a want to be writer. He has published books, but those books did not do that well in the market, and he since then is trying to write a new book, but it is not landing well, and that's why he is kind of not working at the moment, but also trying to write. He is a little bit insecure when it comes to how successful Sarah is and how busy she gets in her work, and that leads him to cheat on his wife. The person he cheats on his wife with gets murdered on the very same day he was with her. And when Sarah gets to know about this, she understands that Sarah is the only one who can save him in this situation. Hence, Sarah takes the case and she goes on a journey of defending her own husband while her own world is shattering around her. This book was definitely a good book. I really liked reading this book, but I feel that this book was very unrealistic. I do understand that thrillers means morally grey characters, but I felt like Adam, the husband of Sarah, was weird, and his thinking process was something different. First of all, I felt like all of the decisions that he has made in this book were so foolish, and anybody could see through what was happening in this book with Adam, but Adam couldn't. On one hand, he is cheating with his wife because he feels like he is not happy, but on that very same day when she agrees to have a child with him, all his love for his wife comes back, and he decides that he does not want to continue his affair with this girl. Really. However, I really loved the twist that happened at the end, and I feel like all the things that happened to all of the characters were well deserved, even though unrealistic, but well deserved. So, if you are looking for a mixture of legal and domestic thriller that is a little bit unrealistic, then definitely you can check this book out. I, yes, recommend this book. Now, we are starting with the gems I have read in this month, and the first book that I'm going to talk about is Charlie, Love and Cliches by Ella Mills. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. From the title, we know that the main character's name is Charlie, and she works in her dad's firm, but she does not get recognized for all of the efforts and work she does. Her father still thinks that her sister is better and she is basically incompetent. However, she is the one who is doing all of the work. And her father ends up hiring William Carter, who is going to be Charlie's boss from now on. However, these two have a history. A long time ago, Charlie and William went out, and even though nothing happened between them, but Charlie still has feelings for him. But she also has new goals in her life. With all the unsettling old feelings rushing back in her life, she now has to decide what she will choose, her own happiness, or will she sacrifice it for someone else. This book was super cute, cheesy, and the best thing that I like in a rom-com, that is a slow burn. I am so happy that it was not an instant love thing. The banter in this book was absolutely amazing, and I was laughing, kicking my feet while reading this book, and it was an absolutely beautiful experience. When I started reading this book, I felt like Charlie was that wannabe, quirky, messy main female character that we all have read about so many times in so many novels, but I was rather wrong. And by the end of this book, I completely fell in love with Charlie's character. Yes, I did feel like William's character was a little bit guarded. I also feel like William should have talked a little bit more, or the author should have mentioned William's life a little bit more in this book, because I feel like it was missing a little bit. Majority of this book has banters in it. So if you are a person who loves banters in a book, then definitely this book is for you. But there were certain things that I feel should have been completed or should have made a conclusion by the end of the story, but it didn't happen. I won't be saying those things because those will be considered as spoilers, and that is the reason why I have reduced 1 star from this book. I will definitely recommend this book to you because this is one of the very few slow burn romances where intimate scenes are kept to the side and we just talk about the characters and what they are going through, how they are dealing with their feelings, the beautiful banters, and I absolutely ended up liking this book. The next book that I read and I absolutely loved was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I have given this book 4.5 stars. The main character of this book is Feyre, who ends up killing the wrong wolf, and she is dragged into the world of fairies, and her captor Tamlin, who is a high lord, slowly starts becoming her friend. This is the story of Feyre and Tamlin, where Tamlin, who is a beast in the beginning, becomes a passionate lover of Feyre, and Feyre, on the other hand, is a mere mortal human being who can go to any extent to fight for her love. This book is a modern retelling or adaptation of the concept of Beauty and the Beast. One thing I have to mention is while I was reading this book, I was also listening to the graphic audiobook, and that elevated my reading experience to a different level, and the graphic audiobook is the main reason why I have given this book 4.5 stars. The world building of Prithian was absolutely amazing. The elements, the characters, the creatures that I got to know was absolutely amazing. I loved the romance that was slowly building between Tamlin and Feyre, and also I loved Lucian's character as well. Yes, he was a little bit cocky, he was a little bit arrogant, but I know where he was coming from by the end of this book, and I absolutely loved that. The second book, that is A Court of Mist and Fury, is in my September's TBR, and one character that I am absolutely interested in right now after finishing this book is Rhysand. One thing that I absolutely loved in this book was the ending. Oh my, the absolute satisfaction I had when someone did something to someone. You know what I mean if you have read the book. I am so glad that I finally picked this book up after procrastinating for a lot of time, and I'm so excited to read the other books in this series. The next book that I read this month was a friend's recommendation, and the book I'm talking about is The Mine by Orno Bray. I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. There is a hidden mining facility in Rajasthan where a series of dark and twisty things start happening, and people are getting killed or murdered, or they are killing themselves for some reason. And to investigate that, 5 experts are brought by the facility to uncover the chilling truth, what is actually happening in this facility. And in that process, these 5 people discovered some very chilling truths about this facility, stating that the greatest evil lies within us. This book is a gripping and fast-paced thriller with elements of horror in it, and I absolutely loved reading this book. This book talks about human guilt and sin, and the author has blended this with supernatural elements, and it was really refreshing for me to read coming from an Indian author. All of the 5 characters in this book had some really dark past, and they were super complex. While reading the book, you won't be able to pick one side, and that dilemma makes this book an amazing read. If you're looking for a dark thriller and if you're looking for a beautiful Indian novel that you want to read, check this book out. I can guarantee that you will fall in love with Orno Gray's writing, and this author has definitely become my auto by author now. The next book that I read that came as a surprise to me because I did not know that I will end up liking this book so much is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I have given this book 4.5 stars. It is rather very rare for me to like a hyped book, and I am so happy that I read this book because this book definitely deserves all the hype. The two characters of this book are Nate and Anastasia. Anastasia is the figure skater, and Nate is the captain of the hockey team of the same college, University of California in Maple Hills. Due to certain circumstances, they end up sharing the same ice skating rink, and that brings Anastasia and Nate closer. This is the story of Anastasia and Nate, where Anastasia is absolutely sure that she cannot fall for a hockey player, and Nate is absolutely sure that he does not want anything serious. Nate was a walking green flag. Nate was absolutely beautiful in this book, and the best thing that I did like in this book was the communication. The way these two characters communicate in this book is something that we all can take inspiration from and apply that in our real lives, because communication is something that is the utmost important thing that can make a relationship survive. At first, Anastasia did get on my nerves a little bit, but as the story started progressing, I started falling in love with her as well. Not only Anastasia and Nate, I also loved Nate's friends. One person, I'm not going to talk about that person, but he was doing some really, really bad things in this book, and I feel like he was not given the taste of his own cake. I wanted something bad to happen to him. I don't know what that tells about me. It actually did not, and that major topic abruptly ended, and that made me reduce zero point 0.5 stars. Otherwise, I do not have any complaints. I did not expect this book to be so mature. The next book in the Maple Hills series, Wildfire, is in my TBR in the month of September, and I am so very excited to read the other books in the Maple Hills series. I have also got the recent installation of the Maple Hills series. If you are a person who does not like spicy novels that much, then definitely this book is not for you. This book has a lot of spice, but if you are someone who is accustomed to reading spicy novels, then definitely I will recommend this book to you. You will absolutely enjoy every bit of it. This is the best book that I read in the month of August, and the book I am talking about is The 7 Years Slip by Ashley Poston. Absolutely 5 stars. Navigating a love story that spans 7 years apart, Clementine must decide if her heart can survive the risk of falling in love with a man that existed 7 years ago. This book is a roller coaster of emotions, and I did not expect that this book will capture grief and sorrow so beautifully. Ashley Poston writes with such raw realism. All of the emotions presented in this book hit so hard that I absolutely loved reading this book. I felt a lot of emotions while reading this book. At some point, I was laughing. At some point, I was just happy and content. At some point, I was sad. At some point, I was crying. And this book was definitely a beautiful experience. The right person, wrong time theme was beautifully executed in this book, adding a layer to a bittersweet romance novel. The time slip thing adds a beautiful element to the book, and yes, it was a little bit confusing at times, but it was amazing. This book is definitely a comfort read that balances heartache with hope, and I absolutely recommend this book to each and everyone who is watching this video. Now, this will definitely be the last book that I will read in the month of August, but I have not finished reading this book yet, and the book that I'm talking about is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Today is 29th. I have apparently 2.5 days left before this month ends, so I am absolutely sure that I will end up reading this book because I am currently at chapter 6 and page number 42, and this book is definitely fast paced. I just started this book today only. I don't have much to say about this book right now, but I am really liking the way the author has written this book. Let me tell you a little bit about the plot of this book so that you can get a little bit idea whether you want to read this book or not, because I am not in a position to give a review of this book right now. So the main character of this book is 17-year-old Cassie, and she has a natural talent. She is a profiler. Basically, she can look at you, observe your traits, and she can predict things about you. you, that is a quality that FBI is currently looking for. There are other people who are working for FBI who have other talents, and the FBI calls them the naturals. The FBI is using the naturals to solve all of the cold cases that are pending for a long time, and I am absolutely liking this book for now. It is actually very early for me to say anything about this book, but I had to shoot the video today, otherwise all the things that I have planned would have delayed, and I don't want to do that. By the end of the month, I am really content with the reading that I have done and the books that I have selected to read in the month of August, and there are some great reads that deserve a spot in your TBR list as well. That's it, guys. This is my TBR wrap up for the month of August. I hope that you enjoyed listening to what I have read in the month of August. Let me know in the comments down below if you have read any of these books. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much, guys, for watching my video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, bye.